Here we go with some DM tips for Chapter 3 of Call of the Netherdeep. This is Bazzoxan and the Betrayer's Rise. There will be spoilers here, so if you are going to be a player in this, you'll want to click away and come back after you play the adventure. This is Chapter 3 of Call of the Netherdeep. Characters will be levels 5 through 6, and the page references below will be, and in the notes, will be to the hardcover. So thank you so much to the authors, thank you so much to the Critical Role team for this really great adventure. Let's go over the pacing for the 8-hour adventure. If you're running this in 4-hour blocks, I think it'll take you 2 of them to finish it up. The first part you can do exploring Bazzoxan, and for the adventure the characters should gain a level right after the Gloomstalker Escape at the gates of Betrayer's Rise. So if that's where you're going to give them a level, that's a good place where you break the adventure. Hours 0 through 1, you'd want the character intros and recapping how the adventure went and checking in on what the rival situation is. Hour 1 through 2 would be no time for pleasantries. That's these, they enter Betrayer's Rise, they have the encounter with the gibbering mouthers. Hour 2 through 3, exploring Bazzoxan. Hour 3 through 4, going up to Betrayer's Rise and the Gloomstalker Escape. So for pacing, you can add more encounters, and it did run a little short for me, so that's probably something you're going to want to do. You can also remove areas if you run out of time. And for if you want to look for a cliffhanger to end it on, you could end it right as the Gloomstalkers are escaping. You could end it when the party views the first area inside Betrayer's Rise, and they see the door, and the gem begins to glow, and you can stop it there. Or you could do the next room, where the monsters start to ooze out of the walls. Okay, so that'd be the first 4-hour session. Then for the second 4-hour session, you'd be in Betrayer's Rise. Here's a map of Betrayer's Rise here. This large dungeon. It actually was pretty difficult to get this done in under 4 hours, so you're probably not going to need to add any encounters, but they are available if you need to. So hour 0 through 1, character intros, recap, revisit the rivals. Hour 1 through 2, exploring the Rise. 2 through 3, exploring the Rise. And by the end of the 3rd hour, you want to be at the main site of this amazing picture here for the adventure. And then hour 3 through 4 will be confrontation with the rivals as they are at Evandra's site. And the jewel has awakened to the next level, they've had the next vision. Okay, so that is the pacing for the adventure. Now, overview, I'd like to have a kind of a overview of the region with a zoom up of Bazzoxan here. I'd provide just the map of the city with all the areas identified, and also a short blurb for each area so as the party explores, they know kind of what's out there. The adventure begins with them seeing Bazzoxan, and this is an amazing picture here, Bazzoxan. I also am doing this thing where I'm sharing information for the players as whispers for some players with the area of the descriptions. Sometimes I'll provide this information ahead of time and also with these descriptions. So the way I do this, if I shift click here on Bazzoxan, this is a macro, and here is the part of the macro that shows the picture. Then these description tabs are the gray text, the black text that's centered here. And then whispering to the GM, only the GM sees that. And then whispering to a player, only that player would see that. And I have a thing set up here where I test that ahead of time. So I do this whisper test, ask the players to make sure that they see this test whisper. That's how I know that I've given the names, the right names for each of the areas, and that they can see the whispers, and they only see one of them. And so you can use that if you like to provide that information in the flow of the descriptions. Okay, so they come to Bazzoxan. The first thing that happens is an attack with some gibbering mouthers. Another awesome picture here. And for this attack, I use this map here. This comes from Heroic Maps, and it is Hellscapes, the 7th level of Hell. And I use like just a quarter of the map. It's just really good thematic map, matching Bazzoxan, I think, a lot. The party, I'd have them set up with guards marching through the city, and then ahead they might see Varen, the task hand here at Bazzoxan, and their rivals. Maybe only AO is visible, the rest might be behind the wall. But just as they see them, the gibbering mouthers spill out, and the encounter begins. So this encounter will be a pretty tough fight. Varen will command the rivals to go protect the infirmary. They will take off. Varen will come in and help the party. The fight will go pretty difficult for these gibbering mouthers. And in the aftermath, the party can then speak with Varen. Varen will tell them he has to return to the barracks, but they should go explore the city and come visit him in the evening. And he can answer them a few questions about Bazzoxan, but he'll save the information about the visiting factions and Betrayer's Rise for when they come visit him later. So the party will leave this encounter here. They'll go out into the city to explore. And so you have the sacrifice engines. You have area B1 being the gate they've already come through. B2 being the infirmary. And here they will meet one of the faction members. Prolix will come here, and he is of the Allegiance of All Sight. Then in B3, they have the infirmary, and they can meet a priest there. They can meet a soldier that asks them to take something to the wall. Go to the wall in a second here. B4, this is the Gatehold Barracks, which they'll come to. We'll circle back to this. They probably won't go to that until they've explored most of the rest of the city. And we got B5, which is the dilapidated temple. This one you really want to get the party to come check out. If they don't go to it themselves, I'd bring Foghome to them. You want to get them involved with Foghome such that they will have the vision. And the vision's here, and in this vision, they will see more of the Apotheon. So that's really a good one to get them to take part in. Area B6 is the Wall of the Unforgotten, and this just kind of sets the tone here of this city and the desperation of the young warriors that are stationed here. And then you have B7, which is the tavern, the Ready Room, and in there they could meet other faction people. They could run across Alosia Telfin and question the member of the Consortium of the Vermilion Dream and the Library of the Cobalt Soul. Alright, and then they could also run into, and Question's got a lot of good information to share, so hopefully they will do that. They can run into, and Question can share that her comrades were left behind when she fled, and the party might then know to search for them. And that's one of the only ways they'll get to find the bodies at the bottom of the chasm in Betrayer's Rise, which we'll get to in a second. Okay, then finally they should return to the barracks, and they should go to the war room of the barracks, where they will meet with Varen. And Varen can share with them what he knows about the various factions that are in town, what he knows about how Alosian's trying to get people to go into the Rise with her, and he will warn them about how dangerous Betrayer's Rise is. Then the party will come to Betrayer's Rise. So here is the approach to Betrayer's Rise map, and this amazing picture here of the gates to Betrayer's Rise. And the party approaches there. Got some more information. Got the gods use demons to defend the fortress, and the reliefs are depicting the prime deities being tormented. And then comes the Gloomstalker attack. So the Gloomstalkers escape out the front doors, and there's a pretty good battle there. And that's where it says to end the first session. Depending on how fast it's going for you, you can end it right before this. Right when you roll initiative, you can end it on a cliffhanger, or you can maybe make it a little bit into Betrayer's Rise. So then they come to the first room of Betrayer's Rise, and there's this bridge over the chasm. They hear voices whispered from below if they have high enough perception checks. They see the holy symbol of Avandra on the wall, and the jewel begins to glow as they get close. That's another good point where you get into a cliffhanger. And then the first room here, this place, here, this Hall of Holes, this is where the Gibbering Mouthers could start to ooze out. Another good cliffhanger spot. Alright, so that is the end of the first session. All the information that I have that's been whispered here, I have that, and I will put that in the notes and or the first couple comments for this video. So you'll be able to copy and paste that if you like that. The music, which will also be in the notes, I'm using Ancient Artifact for Bazzoxan. That works really well. And then when they come into Betrayer's Rise, I would do Defiled Temple. Turn this up here so you can hear that. Good thematic music there. And then when they get to the Holy Site of Evander here, the very last chamber, you could do Abyssal Gaze for that. Turn that up here. Kind of really spooky, eerie music for that strange chamber. All right. Some more things I might have in the notes. The Critical Role videos where they get to Bazzoxan and they go below Bazzoxan is Season 2 of Critical Role. Episode 66, they get to Bazzoxan. 67, they start going below Bazzoxan. So there's some cool stuff you can watch there. There's a cool encounter with some spiders there, which matches one of the rooms here in the dungeon. So let's go on into the dungeon. Okay. There's a lot of things that should be foreshadowed. This first room is going to determine which way they go. There is quite a bit that they might notice with high perception checks. Jagged markings along the edge of this table here. And of course, they'll see the writing on this wall here. If they can read Abyssal, they'll be able to decode it. And then I would put this invisible on the map for them so they have a reference to it. If they go down this tunnel here for the spider webs, I made the mistake of having the spiders visible the first time when a familiar came down here. I would do it with the spiders are hidden. That matched that Critical Role video that I pointed out how that encounter went for them. Then have the spiders come out on the party as the party is kind of coming into the room, and that can be pretty spooky. Lots of traps and other things here to foreshadow. When they come into the chapel area, they should hear this disembodied music coming there. When they get past the chapel room or this door here, they should hear wailing. And the wailing is coming from this amazing set piece area of the dungeon where there's this great statue and these arms and doors in the statue. So for that room, it really begs to have a three-dimensional view of it. I did not have that when I ran it. I wish I did. So I would craft some sort of three-dimensional view of the place like this. So here's the above area, area 10, hole in the floor of 10. Here's area 12. Here's the statue, the door in the statue, and the three hands rising up above. I like to put, altitudes and what it takes to do various things here on the hands. I still have hit points. So I use often invisible tokens when I want to give hit points to objects. So this is an invisible token, just a PNG that's clear. And I have assigned it the character of the dungeon. And I have its hit points there. And I started out with it on the, GM layer and move it to the player layer when they do damage to it. There we go. Okay, then this red circle is the area of the screaming that causes the party to go insane with anger. And I would do that. I would kind of do that like in groups of 2 or so characters as they start to come into the region. I would give them, if they, like penetrate the area within 30 feet of the head, I wouldn't have them immediately roll, but I also wouldn't not have the whole party roll at once because that could get overwhelming. I'd take like a couple of characters that were closest and in 30 feet and have them do it. And then from there, at the end of every round, add new characters who are in the area being affected by that screaming effect. All right. So yeah, definitely a side view of that room's very handy. Another room that's handy to have a side view of is this room 14 here, because they might want to get out of it as the blood starts to rise. And this is where they'd be climbing a 45-foot hall, 45-foot tall wall. So I would do a side schematic of that for that room. Okay. Here's the Abyssal Gate here. It says every time someone goes through this mouth, the Abyssal Gate opens. I think that might get real repetitive really fast. So I only did it one time when I ran it. Okay, then the final room. I think there's a really good chance when your party's in the final room and they're having the vision here by putting the jewel on the altar, that when the rivals show up, there's going to be characters still in the party up here where the rivals are going to be coming from. Just use Betrayer's Rise's natural morphing, or unnatural morphing as it may be, to say another pathway has opened and the rivals come through another pathway. So, for example, I have this one drawn over here, and have the rivals come opposite the party and then have that interaction between the rivals and the party that way. Okay, let's see. I think I covered everything. I hope you have a good time with this one. It is really good. Spooky, thematic. The mood on it's really good. I think you'll have a great time running this adventure. One last thing, though, and that is when the rivals attack. Okay, so, or if they attack. So when the rivals come at the party, if they were all full strength at this tier, they are really too strong for the party, in my opinion. So I took each of them down to about 65% hit points. And Maggie, I did not have in the chamber. But by the time I ran this, the party's really in pretty good connection with the rivals. They did one thing where they like compulsed AO and Dermot with a command spell to their side, which AO is going to, like grind on AO. So by the next adventure, and AO, of course, as the adventure goes on, gets more and more caught up with this should be her quest. So even though the party's been very friendly to rivals to this date, AO is going to try and lead her party against them pretty soon. Luckily, with the players putting so much legwork into making the rivals friendly, Maggie and Dermot will try to, mediate. Irvin and Galsariad are not necessarily that friendly no matter what. So that's what's coming for my group when they run through this when we do the next adventure. And so I hope you have a great time and enjoy playing this one.